The breaking point. The crystalline walls of New Concordia space station reflected the light of 3 nearby stars as Ambassador Sarah Chen adjusted her diplomatic sash one final time. Through the observation window, she could see the assembled ships of the Valthar Confederacy, a display meant to intimidate, though it had long since lost its effect on her. This would be the 7th round of negotiations, and Sarah knew it would be the last. 3 years had passed since humanity first encountered the Valthar Confederacy, when their scout ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system. The memory of that day remained vivid in Sarah's mind, the excitement, the hope, the dream of joining a greater galactic community. How naive they had been. The conference chamber doors slid open with a hiss, revealing the semicircular room dominated by holographic projections of star maps and treaty documents. At the center, seated on an elevated platform, was High Chancellor Vorik of the Valthar Confederacy. His elongated purple form seemed to ripple with barely contained arrogance. 6 arms folded in what Sarah had learned was a gesture of superiority. Ambassador Chen, Vorik's translator, rendered his clicking speech into English. I trust you have come prepared to accept the Confederacy's generous terms. Sarah took her designated place at the lower podium, noting how it forced her to look up at the Chancellor and his council. Everything about these negotiations had been designed to reinforce humanity's supposed inferior status. High Chancellor, Sarah replied, her voice steady. I have reviewed your latest proposal. Earth finds the terms problematic. A wave of chittering laughter spread through the gathered alien delegates. The Crixian representative, a being resembling a mass of crystalline shards, chimed in with metallic resonance. Problematic. You should be grateful the Confederacy even considers your primitive species worthy of membership. Sarah maintained her composure, though her hands tightened slightly on the podium. She had endured such insults for months, always responding with diplomatic grace. No more. Let us review these generous terms, Sarah said, activating her own holographic display. Article 7 demands unrestricted access to Earth's genetic libraries. Article 12 requires us to surrender control of our asteroid mining operations. Article 23 would place our entire military under Confederacy command. Vorak waved 2 of his arms dismissively. Standard requirements for new members. Security measures to ensure stability. And Article 35. Sarah's voice hardened. The one that grants the Confederacy authority to relocate human populations as needed for resource optimization. The chamber fell silent. Even some of the alien delegates seemed uncomfortable with this particular clause. Necessary provisions, Vorik stated. Your species lacks the experience to manage galactic-scale resources efficiently. We offer guidance. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, remembering the instructions she had received from Earth Command just hours ago. The decision had been unanimous. High Chancellor Vorik, she began, her voice carrying a new weight. For 3 years, humanity has negotiated in good faith. We have shared our culture, our art, our medical advances. We have opened our colonies to your observers and welcomed your traders. And in return, Vorik interrupted, you receive the protection and wisdom of the Confederacy. In return, Sarah continued as if he hadn't spoken, we have been met with condescension, exploitation, and demands that would reduce us to a client state at best, slaves at worst. The chamber erupted in outraged clicks, whistles, and other alien vocalizations. Vorik rose to his full height, his purple skin darkening with anger. You dare. I dare. Sarah cut him off, because Earth has made its decision. She straightened to her full height, no longer accepting the submissive posture the podium encouraged. The United Earth Government formally withdraws from all negotiations with the Valthar Confederacy, effective immediately. Stunned silence fell over the chamber. No species had ever rejected Confederacy membership. It was unthinkable. Vorik's translator struggled with his sputtering response. You cannot. The consequences are ours to bear, Sarah finished. She began gathering her materials with deliberate calm. Our diplomatic vessels will depart Confederacy space within 48 hours. This is our final communication." As she turned to leave, the chamber exploded with noise. Some delegates shouted threats, others expressed disbelief, and a few, Sarah noted with interest, remained conspicuously silent. "You condemn your species to isolation," Vorak bellowed, "to irrelevance. When the Drool Empire expands, when the Void Hunters come, you will beg for our protection." Sarah paused at the threshold, turning back with an expression that made several delegates flinch. "High Chancellor, there's an old Earth saying. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. You've spent 3 years assuming our patience was weakness, our diplomacy was desperation, our offers of friendship were pleas for survival." She smiled then, and something in that smile made even Vorak take a step back. "You were wrong." The doors closed behind her, cutting off the chaos of the chamber. As Sarah walked through the station's corridors, she activated her secure communicator. "Phoenix Actual, this is Mockingbird. The nest is empty. Initiate Prometheus Protocol." Throughout human space, hidden facilities powered up. Dormant fleets came online. Technologies carefully concealed during 3 years of negotiations began their activation sequences. Humanity had hoped for peace, planned for friendship, but prepared for the alternative. In the conference chamber, as the alien delegates continued their uproar, none noticed the subtle shift in the station's energy readings. None realized that humanity's withdrawal was not a retreat, but the calm before a storm that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of the small blue planet and its supposedly primitive inhabitants. The Valthar Confederacy had made a miscalculation of historic proportions. They were about to learn that humans didn't walk away from the negotiating table because they were weak. They walked away because they were ready. The revelation. 3 weeks of silence followed humanity's withdrawal from negotiations. No human ships appeared in Confederacy space. No communications emerged from the Sol system. The normal bustle of human merchant vessels, scientific expeditions, and diplomatic couriers simply vanished as if Earth had closed its doors to the galaxy. In the grand chambers of the Valthar homeworld, High Chancellor Vorak presided over an emergency session of the Confederate Council. The mood had shifted from smug satisfaction to growing unease. "They hide like frightened creatures," declared General Kath of the Dronathi military caste, his chidnus armor gleaming under the chamber's lights. "Let us show them the price of defiance." A single battle group could secure their pathetic system within days. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, but Vorak noticed that several species representatives remained notably quiet. The ancient Yathi observer, whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, sat motionless, her crystalline eyes reflecting depths of knowledge she chose not to share. "Very well," Vorak announced, his 6 arms gesturing decisively. "Admiral Thex, you will lead the sovereign fleet to the Sol system. Demonstrate our might. Remind these humans of their place in the galactic order." Admiral Thex, a veteran of numerous peacekeeping operations, bowed his scaled head. "It shall be done, High Chancellor. The humans will learn respect." 5 days later, the Sovereign Fleet, 30 warships representing the pinnacle of Valthar military technology, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Thex stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable truth, as his sensors began scanning the system. "Report," he commanded. "Admiral," his sensor officer responded, confusion evident in her voice. "We're detecting nothing. No defensive platforms, no patrol ships, not even civilian traffic. It's as if the system is abandoned." Thex's scales shifted to a deeper shade of blue, indicating suspicion. "Impossible. Advance the fleet. Maintain formation." As the Valthar ships moved deeper into the system, passing the orbit of Neptune, a junior officer suddenly called out, "Admiral, energy signature detected. Everywhere." The space around the fleet erupted with light as hundreds of previously invisible platforms powered up simultaneously. Vex had just enough time to register that these weren't the primitive defense satellites intelligence had reported before his ship shuddered under the impact of a weapon he didn't recognize. Shields holding at 70%. The tactical officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. Admiral, their weapons. They're phasing through our shields somehow. Before Thex could respond, a holographic projection materialized on his bridge. A human woman in a military uniform he didn't recognize. Admiral Thex, the woman said calmly, I am Fleet Admiral Maria Rise of Earth Defense Command. Your ships have entered sovereign human space without authorization. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Thex snarled, his pride overriding his growing concern. You dare threaten the sovereign fleet. We are here to intimidate a species you believed inferior. Rise interrupted. Yes, we're aware. However, you've operated under several misconceptions. She gestured, and tactical displays throughout Thex's bridge changed to show detailed scans of the Valfar fleet. For instance, you believed our technology was primitive because that's what we chose to show you. The implications hit Thex like a physical blow. Impossible. Our intelligence saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Rice continued. Every ship you scanned, every colony you visited, every technology demonstration you witnessed, all carefully curated to present a specific image. As if to emphasize her point, space around the Valfar fleet shimmered, revealing not hundreds but thousands of defense platforms, along with a human fleet that materialized from seemingly nowhere. Ships of designs Thex had never seen, employing stealth technology that shouldn't exist. You're wondering why, Ray said, reading his expression. Why hide our capabilities? The answer is simple. We wanted to know who you really were. Whether you would treat us as equals or attempt to subjugate us. Your actions these past 3 years have been illuminating. Back on the Valfar homeworld, emergency transmissions from the Sovereign Fleet threw the Confederate Council into chaos. High Chancellor Vorak watched in disbelief as Admiral Thex reported not just advanced human technology, but evidence of capabilities that rivaled or exceeded anything in known space. They've been studying us. The Yathi observer finally spoke, her voice carrying across the pandemonium. While we postured and preened, they watched. They learned. They prepared. Vorak turned to her, desperation cracking his usual composure. You knew. I suspected, she replied. In my long life, I've learned that the most dangerous species are not those who display their power, but those who conceal it. The human showed you patience, not weakness. Restraint, not limitation. The chamber's main display activated, showing a message from Earth. Sarah Chen appeared, but gone was the diplomatic deference she had previously displayed. She stood tall, confident, backed by admirals and scientists whose very existence the Confederacy had never suspected. Members of the Valfar Confederacy, Sarah began, 3 years ago, humanity reached out in friendship. We were met with arrogance and attempted exploitation. You viewed our desire for peace as evidence of weakness, our willingness to compromise as proof of inferiority. She paused, letting her words sink in. You were wrong. We chose diplomacy not from necessity, but from principle. We revealed only a fraction of our capabilities not from inability, but from strategy. And now, having seen your true nature, we act accordingly. The transmission expanded to show star maps, economic projections, and military analyses that left the Confederate Council stunned. Humanity hadn't just been hiding their technology. They had been preparing for every possible scenario, including the collapse of the Confederacy itself. The galaxy is about to change, Sarah continued. The question is whether you will adapt to this new reality or cling to your illusions of superiority. Choose wisely. As the transmission ended, Vorak slumped in his ceremonial chair. Around him, council members erupted in accusations and recriminations. 3 years of assumed dominance had evaporated in moments, replaced by the cold realization that they had fundamentally misjudged the newest species in their midst. In the Sol system, Admiral Thex made the only decision available to him. All ships withdraw to Confederate space. Inform the High Chancellor. We have gravely miscalculated. The Sovereign Fleet retreated, their sensors tracking human ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. As they jumped to hyperspace, Thex couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had allowed their escape. Another message in a series of revelations that would reshape galactic politics forever. The New Order. The collapse of the old order began not with warfare, but with whispers. Word spread through diplomatic channels, trade routes, and intelligence networks. Humanity was not what it seemed. The Valfar Confederacy's humiliation became a catalyst for change as species after species reconsidered their assumptions about the newcomers from Earth. In the weeks following the Sovereign Fleet's retreat, High Chancellor Vorak faced mounting pressure from Confederate members. Some demanded immediate military action. Others counseled desperate diplomacy, while a growing faction quietly opened back-channel communications with Earth. We must strike now, General Cath insisted during yet another emergency session. Before they consolidate their advantage, our combined forces would be annihilated, interrupted Ambassador Zora of the Nexian Republic. Her species, known for their analytical minds, had been among the first to recognize the implications of humanity's reveal. Our analysts have reviewed the sensor data from Admiral Thext's encounter. The humans didn't just match our technology. They surpassed it in ways we don't yet understand. Vorak's skin had taken on a permanent gray pallor, the biological marker of extreme stress in his species. There must be a solution. The Confederacy has stood for thousands of cycles. The Confederacy, a new voice interrupted, was built on the assumption of Valfar technological superiority. All eyes turned to the entrance where Sarah Chen stood. Having somehow bypassed all security protocols, another demonstration of human capabilities. She was accompanied by representatives from several Confederate member species, including some Vorak had considered loyal allies. Ambassador Chen, Vorak managed, "This is a closed session." "Nothing is closed to us now, High Chancellor," Sarah replied evenly. "Your own security chiefs invited me. It seems they prefer adaptation to extinction." The betrayal struck Vorak like a physical blow. He looked around the chamber, seeing uncertainty and fear in faces that had once shown only deference to Valfar authority. Sarah activated a holographic display that filled the chamber. 3 months ago, humanity withdrew from negotiations. Since then, we've been contacted by 70% of Confederate member species, each seeking individual treaties. They've seen what you refuse to acknowledge. The galaxy has changed. The display shifted to show economic projections, technological assessments, and diplomatic frameworks. We offer a new model, the Terran Alliance, not based on dominance or subjugation, but on mutual benefit and respect. Equal partners working toward shared prosperity. And if we refuse, Vorak asked, though his voice lacked its former authority. "Then you'll face irrelevance," Sarah responded simply. The Confederacy's power came from its unified front. That unity is already broken. As if to emphasize her point, the Nexian ambassador stepped forward. The Nexian Republic formally withdraws from the Valfar Confederacy and petitions for membership in the Terran Alliance. Others followed. The Yathi Observer, the Crixian Collective, even some of Vorak's own military commanders announced their shift in allegiance. Each defection further eroded the Confederacy's foundation. In the following weeks, the transformation accelerated. Human technology, no longer hidden, revolutionized everything from medical treatments to space travel. Their approach to diplomacy, treating each species as equals regardless of technological level, won them allies among civilizations the Valfar had dismissed as insignificant. The final blow came when Earth revealed its masterpiece, a network of hyperspace gates that rendered traditional travel obsolete. Species that had been isolated by vast distances found themselves connected, their economies and cultures intermingling in ways previously impossible. Vorak watched his empire crumble from the isolation of his private chambers. The Confederate Council had voted to remove him from power, installing a provisional government tasked with negotiating terms with the Terran Alliance. His species, once the unquestioned leaders of known space, now scrambled to secure a place in the new order. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from negotiations, Sarah Chen returned to New Concordia Station. But this time, she arrived aboard the TS Resolution, flanked by a coalition fleet representing 12 species. The station itself had been refurbished, its architecture no longer designed to intimidate but to welcome. In the main assembly hall, rebuilt as a circle where all representatives sat as equals, Sarah addressed the gathered dignitaries. Former High Chancellor Vorak sat among them, no longer elevated, his posture reflecting hard-learned humility. When humanity first reached the stars, Sarah began, we carried with us the lessons of our history. We knew the price of arrogance, the cost of assuming superiority over others. We had hoped to find wisdom among the stars. Instead, we found the same mistakes we had struggled to overcome. She paused, looking at each species representative in turn. So we chose a different path. We showed restraint when we could have shown force. We offered friendship when we could have demanded submission. And when that approach failed, we revealed only enough strength to change the conversation, not to dominate it. The assembly listened in silence, many still adjusting to their new reality. The Terran Alliance is not about human leadership, Sarah continued. It's about collective progress. Each species brings unique perspectives, technologies, and wisdom. Together, we are stronger than any empire built on fear and subjugation. As the formal ceremony concluded and representatives mingled in the reception area, Vorak approached Sarah. The former High Chancellor had aged visibly, his purple skin now marked with streaks of white. I wonder, he said quietly, if you planned this from the beginning, if every moment of our negotiations was part of some grand strategy. Sarah studied him for a moment before responding. We hoped for genuine partnership. We prepared for betrayal. The choice was always yours. Vorak nodded slowly. And now? Now you have another choice, Sarah replied. Learn from this experience and help build something better, or cling to the past and fade into irrelevance. The Valthar are still welcome in the Alliance, as equals. As Vorak contemplated her words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Emergency broadcasts reported unknown ships emerging from hyperspace. The Droll Empire, drawn by signs of Confederate weakness, had launched their long-anticipated invasion. Sarah touched her communicator. Admiral Reyes, initiate defensive protocols. Show our new allies what collective security really means. Across the system, human and allied ships moved into formation. Technologies that had shocked the Valthar now deployed in coordinated defense. The Droll fleet, expecting to face a fractured confederacy, instead encountered the unified might of the Terran Alliance. The battle was brief but decisive. When it ended, the Droll commanders requested immediate negotiations, having learned in hours what had taken the Valthar years to understand. In the aftermath, as repair crews worked and diplomats drafted new treaties, Sarah stood once again at the observation window. The view had changed. Instead of intimidating warships, she saw merchant vessels, scientific expeditions, and diplomatic shuttles representing dozens of species. Vorak joined her at the window. You've reshaped the galaxy, he observed. No, Sarah corrected. We simply showed it a different path. The reshaping was everyone's choice. As they watched, a new ship emerged from hyperspace, a joint human-Valthar research vessel, the first of many collaborative projects. It represented what Sarah had always hoped for, not dominance or submission, but partnership. The age of empires built on force had ended. The era of alliances forged through mutual respect had begun, and at its center stood humanity, not as conquerors, but as catalysts for a change that would echo through the stars for generations to come.